Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. And today we're tackling a topic that, well, it might sound a little, I don't know, touchy-feely at first,
Yeah.
self-compassion. But stick with us because trust me, this isn't just about giving yourself a pep talk in the mirror or anything.
Mm.
This stuff goes way deeper. We're
Absolutely.
talking about how being kinder to yourself can actually make you stronger,
Mm.
more resilient when things get tough,
hmm
and even, get this, help you actually achieve your goals.
It's pretty counterintuitive, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
It kind of blew my mind when I first started digging into the research.
Yeah.
So to help us unpack all of this, we've got, well, I'd say a leading expert on self-compassion with us today.
Happy to be here.
So I guess maybe the best place to start is, what exactly are we even talking about when we say self-compassion?
Well, it's funny because a lot of people think it's just about being nice to yourself.
Right.
Which, that's part of it.
Sure.
But it's really so much more than that.
Okay, so then what is it? What does it actually mean to be self-compassionate?
Well, think of it like this.
Okay.
There are kind of three main ingredients to self-compassion.
Okay.
The first one is self-kindness. And it's basically like treating yourself with the same kind of understanding and support that you would offer to a good friend.
Oh, okay. So if your buddy totally bombed a presentation at work,
Exactly.
you wouldn't be like, dude, you're a total failure. You'd be like, hey, it happens. We've all been there.
Exactly. You'd offer them support, encouragement.
Yeah.
You wouldn't pile on the judgment.
Right.
And that's exactly what self-kindness is all about.
So cutting ourselves some slack when we mess up, basically.
Exactly. The second ingredient is this idea of common humanity.
Okay.
And this one is huge because it's all about recognizing that, look, everyone struggles, everyone makes mistakes,
Yeah.
and everyone feels insecure sometimes. And when we remember that, it helps us to kind of step back from that feeling of like, oh, I'm the only one who screws up.
Right.
It helps us to see that our imperfections, they don't make us weird or broken. They just make us human.
I like
Like
that.
we're all in this together. And then the third piece of the puzzle is mindfulness.
Okay.
And I know mindfulness is one of those words that gets thrown around a lot these days.
Yeah, it's like a buzzword.
Total buzzword.
Right.
But in the context of self-compassion, what it really means is just noticing those difficult thoughts and feelings,
Mhm.
the ones that come up when we're struggling. But the key is we're noticing them without judgment.
Oh.
We're not trying to push them away or pretend they're not there. We're just letting them be there.
Okay.
Kind of like, watching clouds drift by in the sky.
So, I mean, that sounds kind of tricky
It is.
because when those negative thoughts pop up, they can feel so real
Oh, absolutely.
and so intense. How do you just sit there and observe them without getting, totally swept away by them?
It takes practice, for sure.
Okay.
But a good way to think about it is, you're not trying to get rid of the thoughts.
You're just changing your relationship to them.
Okay.
So instead of getting caught up in that inner critic's story, you're just observing it and reminding yourself hey, these are just thoughts. They're not necessarily facts.
Yeah,
It's like creating some space between you and those thoughts
that makes sense.
so they have less power over
So
you.
we're not ignoring the negative stuff, but we're not letting it, run the show either.
Exactly.
I dig it.
And the really interesting thing about all of this is you might think that being kinder to yourself would, I don't know, make you kind of soft or something.
Yeah.
Or less motivated.
Yeah.
But the research actually shows the opposite.
I really.
For real. There was this one study, I think it was in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology,
Okay.
where they found that people who practice self-compassion were actually more likely to stick to their exercise goals.
Wait, hold on. So you're telling me that self-compassion can actually help me achieve my goals?
It can.
That's wild. How does that even work? Well, think about it. When we beat ourselves up over our mistakes, what happens?
We feel terrible.
We get discouraged. We want to give up. But when we're self-compassionate, we can acknowledge our screw-ups without, losing sight of our potential.
Right.
So instead of getting stuck in that cycle of negativity and shame, self-compassion allows us to kind of bounce back,
Okay.
learn from our mistakes, and keep moving forward.
So it's instead of getting knocked down and staying down,
Yeah,
self-compassion helps you get back up stronger.
exactly.
I'm starting to see the appeal here. But it's not just about resilience, right?
No, it's not.
You were saying something about how it can boost creativity, too.
Yeah, that's right. Because when you're less afraid of failing, you're more likely to, take risks, try new things, put your ideas out there
Right.
without worrying so much about what other people are going to think.
So it's kind of like self-compassion frees you up to be more, I don't know, experimental,
That's a great way to put it.
more innovative.
Yeah, because you're not so worried about being perfect. You're more focused on just, exploring and expressing yourself.
This is making a lot of sense. So, like, it's less about being nice to yourself
Yeah.
and more about, I don't know, giving yourself the tools to handle whatever life throws at you,
Yeah, I like that.
but while still moving towards the things that you want.
Absolutely. You nailed it.
Okay, cool. So then the million-dollar question, I guess, how do we actually cultivate more of this self-compassion stuff in our lives? Like, is this where the meditation retreats and the gratitude journals come in?
Well, those things can definitely be helpful.
Right.
But honestly, it can start much simpler than that.
Okay.
Like a really good place to begin is just to start paying attention to how you talk to yourself,
Mhm.
especially when you're facing a challenge or you've made a mistake. Would you talk to a friend the way you're talking to yourself? Probably not.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So why are we doing it to ourselves?
Okay, so it's about changing that inner dialogue. But, like, let's be real. Sometimes that inner critic can feel so freaking loud.
Oh, I know. Hmm.
Like, how do you actually quiet that voice down?
Well, there's this one exercise that I find really helpful,
Okay, I'm listening.
and it's pretty simple, really. Just imagine that a good friend is going through the same thing that you're going through.
Hmm.
What would you say to them? What words of comfort or encouragement would you offer? And then try directing those same words towards yourself.
So instead of saying, like, ugh, I screwed that up, I'm so stupid, I could try saying something like, hey, it's okay, everyone makes mistakes. What can I learn from this?
Exactly. That's it. And remember, self-compassion is a skill.
Okay.
It takes practice, just like anything else. But the more you cultivate it, the more you'll start to see the benefits in your life.
This has been honestly, like, super eye-opening.
I'm glad to hear that.
So it's not about being perfect.
No?
It's about treating ourselves with understanding, no matter what.
Like-
I can get behind that.
Mm.
So as we wrap up here, I guess, like, a good question for our listeners to ponder.
Yeah.
Think back to a recent challenge that you faced
Mm-hmm.
and ask yourself, how might approaching that situation with a little more self-compassion have changed things?
That's a great question.
Like, how might it have changed the outcome?
Oh,
Or even just your experience of it? It's definitely something worth thinking about. And hey, if you're interested in learning more about self-compassion, well, there's a ton of great resources out there.
oh yeah, tons.
Books, articles, even guided meditation. So keep learning, keep practicing. And most importantly, keep being kind to yourselves. All right, that's it for today's Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time.